Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, snowstorms across the country have shut down highways and left people without power this week. We'll show you how Rockbridge County is handling the aftermath.
Wildfire season is here, and Virginia's fire law prohibits outdoor burning after 4 p.m. Find out what kinds of consequences violators could face.
And flu season is also among us. We'll update you on local universities' vaccination procedures and whether an outbreak is likely.
And later, Lexington, Rockbridge County, and Buena Vista are working together on a campaign to bring more entrepreneurs to the area. But will the three localities have trouble splitting the cost equally? That and more is next on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news for Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Alexandra Seymour.
And I'm Asher Lubin. Lexington hunkered down this week as heavy snow and cold temperatures hit the area. Kinsey Grant talked to people coping with the surprise storm.
Lexington residents are no strangers to snow, but when a big storm hit earlier than expected Monday, city leaders stepped in to keep citizens safe. Director of Public Works Mike Kennedy said his office is responsible for snow removal and de-icing. Kennedy said the biggest problem with this week's weather was cold temperatures. When the temperature drops below 20 degrees, salt spread on the roads is no longer effective.
Our street was cleared pretty quickly, I thought, this morning. One side was totally clear. Cars obstructed a little bit of the snow plowing, but it's dry now, down to asphalt. We'll see what the rest of the week brings.
Lexington residents and city leaders alike were surprised by just how much snow came down Monday night.
It was a lot more snow than I thought it was going to be, and it just didn't stop yesterday. I keep thinking it was going to stop in the afternoon, but it just never did.
The snow passed early in the week, but Lexington residents are bracing for negative temperatures tonight.
Those temperatures are a bit intimidating because we're not used to the negative numbers in Lexington, but I think everybody will hunker down and work together.
For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Kinsey Grant.
Mike Kennedy said Public Works will spread gravel with the salt in order to create added traction when temperatures drop.
Now let's get the latest from Stu Scott. Just how low are those temperatures looking right now, Stu?
Thanks, Alexandra, and it is cold outside right now. Current temperature is sitting at 13 degrees, and it's partly cloudy here in Lexington. Let's take a look at our Rockbridge Almanac here. And as you can see, we've got a high of 15, and today's low of -6 is officially the lowest on this date, breaking the previous record of -1. Winds coming out of the west at about 11 miles an hour will make it feel like -4, so make sure to bundle up before going outside. Stay tuned for our weekend weather forecast. Back to you, Alexandra.
Thanks, Stu. We'll come back to you with our full weekend forecast later on.
Rockbridge isn't the only part of the southeast digging out from snow and struggling with near record cold. The same winter blast that hit Rockbridge slammed into Tennessee and Georgia, while the northeast buckled under yet another round of snowstorms. It's not unheard of, but it is pretty rare. Niagara Falls is not falling, it's frozen. Buffalo, New York is symbolic of what has been a brutal winter for much of the northeast, but this time it's the southeast enduring the brunt of the frigid temperatures and snow. In Tennessee, temperatures have been in the teens. Public Works officials are scrambling to spread salt over the icy roads in Nashville, and in Georgia, brutally cold temperatures have moved into the Atlanta area. Agencies and companies are responding to yesterday's snow flurries, and crews are working to restore power to nearly 100,000 homes and businesses. The weight of ice on tree limbs brought down a combination of power cable and telephone lines across the northern part of the state earlier this week. The latest snowfall pushed Boston to its highest monthly total on record, 58 inches and counting, and its third highest yearly snow total.
Snow isn't all this cold weather is bringing us. It's flu season again, and the people around the country are getting sick even after getting a flu shot. Kieran McQuilkin has the latest on how it's affecting the Rockbridge area.
Influenza, or the flu, has several different forms or strains. Every year, the World Health Organization tracks circulation of influenza worldwide and makes a recommendation to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to decide which flu vaccine to produce.
But this year, one of the A strains drifted anagenically from the time that they developed the vaccine to the time it hit the U.S., and so there's not as good a match this year. And one of those A strains is the one that's been circulating the most, and it's not the best match, but it's still protecting people at about a 25% level from illness.
I did have a flu shot this year before, so I probably only had it on board for a couple weeks. I got the flu back in December, actually during finals week here at Washington and Lee. It ended up lasting for probably about a week, and I ended up getting on Tamiflu, which definitely helped me get over the symptoms. It was pretty bad for a while.
Even if the influenza strain were correctly predicted, Horton said, 80% of people would have to get the flu vaccine to protect the whole population.
Some people worry that the vaccine can have side effects, that it's actually going to make them sick or give them the flu. That's a myth that's out there. Most people just think, oh, it's not that serious. It's never been a problem before. I'm 18 years old. I've never had the flu, or I've never had something that was serious enough that I would really want to go get a shot to prevent it.
I did not get a flu shot. I always hear it's not that effective. I think this year is like around 20% effective. Had the flu last week. The symptoms lasted about, I think, 4 or 5 days for the most intense ones. I'm actually still suffering from a cough.
Sandra Summer of the Virginia Department of Health gave a statement about the importance of the flu shot this season. Even though it is not a good match, it can still keep the disease from being so severe if you do catch it. The vaccine can also protect against the other viruses that are in the vaccine. Getting it can also protect those around you who are at higher risk of severe disease. Recently, more people have made the argument against vaccinations, not just for the flu, but for more severe sicknesses like the measles.
One study was published suggesting a link between measles vaccine and autism. It was subsequently discredited as fraudulent. I mean, there was actually made-up data that was published. And there have been many other studies that have been published that have shown no link between measles vaccine and autism. So people are choosing not to have their children vaccinated with the required childhood vaccination. That's at a high enough rate in some communities now that their children are getting sick, and then they are exposing the rest of the population.
Health officials suggest getting the flu vaccine and practicing good hygiene to protect yourself and others. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Kieran McQuilkin.
When we come back, it's wildfire season. What does that mean for Rockbridge residents? We'll show you next.
Hi, Stuart Scott here for the Rockbridge Report, and it is cold out here. Temperatures at about 13 degrees right now with a few clouds in the sky. Stay tuned for your weekend weather forecast on the Rockbridge Report.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary.
Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
He's on his way. He doesn't even know that we're here. Is he okay? Please tell me he's okay.
Laura.
Okay, try to call him again.
There's no signal.
Try.
Nothing's working.
Well, just everything's down. This is so bad. He's out there by himself.
Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov.
Welcome back. The White House is in the middle of its three-day summit focusing on countering violent extremism. It comes as the president waits for Congress to approve his request seeking military authorization to fight ISIS. CNN's Polo Sandoval has the story.
President Obama addressing community and law enforcement leaders coming together in Washington this week. It's a summit to fight violent extremism.
We are focused on prevention, preventing these groups from radicalizing, recruiting, or inspiring others to violence in the first place.
The administration cautions the meetings are not limited to discussing threats posed by ISIS in the Middle East, but more about attacking the root of radicalization. The threat of terrorism was made newly relevant after recent attacks in Western Europe, Australia, and Canada. Missing from the summit, the words Islamic extremism. That's feeding the debate about what to call the threat.
It's about an understanding of who the adversary, who the enemy is, and it seems like in many cases the administration has turned a blind eye willingly.
The president responding, saying Muslim radicals aren't the only ones spreading terror.
Of course, the terrorists do not speak for over 1 billion Muslims who reject their hateful ideology. They no more represent Islam than any madman who kills innocents in the name of God represents Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or Hinduism.
The president will speak again as part of the summit. He addresses foreign ministers at the State Department tomorrow. Reporting in Washington, I'm Polo Sandoval.
The Chamber of Commerce, Rockbridge County, and the City of Buena Vista are awaiting a vote tonight by the Lexington City Council on funding for the Rockbridge 2020 plan. Rockbridge 2020 is a regional marketing plan to bring young entrepreneurs and working retirees to the area. Rockbridge County has contributed $20,000 of funding to the project, while Buena Vista has contributed $15,000. Washington and Lee has contributed $10,000, and other universities and private investors are also expected to be involved in forming and funding the plan.
Virginia's wildfire season started this past weekend. That means limited burning hours and stricter fines. CC Smith has more.
February 15th is the start date for the wildfire season statewide. The window to lawfully burn is reduced from 4 p.m. through midnight due to drier weather and cooler temperatures.
We're really low on the water table right now, and so it doesn't seem dry, but it's actually surprisingly very dry out right now. So
Rockbridge County Forester Karen Stanley works with the Lexington Fire Department to enforce the burning laws. If you are found burning outside of the specified hours, you could face a fine of up to $500.
Most of the time we hear about them is when a fire gets out of control, and then they call 911. We're alerted through that, and then we go out and basically write a summons for it.
Stanley said the summons is similar to a traffic ticket. You can either pay the fine or go to court. 3 years ago, there was a wildfire on North Mountain. Firefighters advised resident John Sheridan and his wife to evacuate their home.
At that point in time, they closed off the road that gives me access to my home and said, nobody can come up there. The fire departments had come up and stationed themselves to be able to try to protect some of the homes in that area.
The winds shifted and directed the fire toward the mountain Sheridan lives on.
Drove home, you could see the fire at the top of the mountain, and they were saying you can stay, but just be aware that you might be required to evacuate at some point during the night. So we decided that we would stay.
The wind switched direction last minute and spared Sheridan's home. He said the fire was likely human-caused, and he hopes people follow the fire safety guidelines to prevent the situation he went through. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm CC Smith.
The regulated burning hours last until the end of the season in April.
James Baldwin is best known for his novels and his activism during the height of the Civil Rights era. He is lesser known for having a private meeting with Robert F. Kennedy in 1963 to discuss the country's race issues. At the meeting, RFK heard from Baldwin and several other activists about how he might improve race relations in the U.S. Charles Reese, an actor and Baldwin expert, recently spoke at Washington and Lee University about the importance of this meeting. Reese said that we can still learn from Baldwin's writing today as race relations in the U.S. continue to be tested. The lecture was held as a part of WNL's ongoing celebration of Black History Month. When we come back, we'll have your weekend forecast. And later, find out how changes to Rockbridge County Fire and EMS could affect emergency response times.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama. Get your GED.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future and sign up for free classes now at yourged.org.
If you store your guns properly, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids. This isn't a drill.
Please.
Please, do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers, dirty looks.
School's out!
For summer.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%.
To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org, because great things happen when we live united.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your local weather forecast for the weekend. Stu, what should we be expecting?
Thanks, Alexandra. And as I said before, current conditions are about 13 degrees right now, with just a few clouds in the sky. Let's take a look at our regional weather map. As you can see here, we've got cold temperatures across the board. Low up in the mountains of Covington at about 7 degrees and a high in Charlottesville of 16. Now let's take a look at our satellite image. As you can see, we've got a cold front coming in right here from the Midwest. That's going to hit us about Saturday and Sunday. We're going to see moisture and cold coming in from that. Let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. As you can see here, no precipitation on Friday, but on Saturday we're going to have snow and a lot of it. 5 to 8 inches expected, so be careful when driving and make sure to bundle up. On Sunday, temperatures are going to get a lot higher. We could see them reach almost 50 degrees, but that's going to bring precipitation as well. We're looking at a lot of rain on Sunday. Monday, it should clear up a bit, but then on Tuesday, we will have snow again, so be prepared for that. Thanks, Alexandra. That's your weekend weather forecast. Back to you.
Wow, thanks, Stu.
2 Rockbridge County towns are experimenting with paid emergency medical workers. Jordan Missel looks at the reasons behind the new plan.
Rockbridge County has individual EMS units for its many towns. For years, most of these teams have relied solely on volunteers. When Brandon Mitchell took over as the Director of Fire and EMS for Rockbridge County last October, he wanted to make a change. Mitchell decided to experiment with giving some EMS workers contracts, making them paid employees. Each crew will receive 2 new workers, one a paramedic and one a basic EMT.
Looked at proximity of the different areas at Glasgow and Fairfield, and those were 2 areas that were chosen. And so we looked at the one is at the far south end of the county, and one is at the north end of the county, and therefore we're able to bring those resources in together from both ends of the county, and then have the Korean Stonewall Jackson Hospital here as a receiving facility, and then also you have Roanoke to the south, and then you have Augusta Medical to the north.
Mitchell is hopeful that these new paid units will cut down on response time, but he did note that sometimes even career-staffed agencies have lapses in their coverage. In addition, these new paid crews are small compared to the 290 volunteers that the whole Rockbridge County has on staff. The Rockbridge County region also faces geographical challenges, including mountains and winding roads, which add to response time. The county EMS team is continually evaluating these new contracted employees along with the other programs that it runs. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Jordan Missel.
When we come back, we'll have your latest on local sports.
And after that, an inside look at one local volunteer organization that you might not have heard about.
Jimmy can't sing, and Tommy can't dance, so we're gonna put some ants in their pants. Aww.
Kids will spend 22 minutes watching us, the super duper party troopers, sing about ants in their pants.
Isn't that funny? Ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time. Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Every budget, so don't accept defeat.
Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
Welcome back. Now we'll turn to Maggie Volsky for the latest on our local sports teams. How are things shaping up, Maggie?
Well, guys, it looks like Debbie Nell's men's and women's swim teams secured the 2015 ODAC Championship last Sunday at the Greensboro Aquatic Center. This is the men's first ever swimming championship. The women's team got its 8th consecutive and 25th overall championship. Both teams now have to wait to see if their qualifying times hold up for the NCAA Division III Championships, which will be held on March 18th to the 21st in Shenandoah, Texas. In basketball, both teams also had wins. The men's team served up a nice dish of defense at Roanoke, beating them 72-64, with the women's team sending visiting team Randolph packing for a cold defeat, 53-46. In lacrosse, the season opener for the men's team came at a loss, beaten by visiting Christopher Newport 13-9. Fortunately, the women's team in its Valentine's Day season opener dealt a heartbreaking loss to Christopher Newport, beating them 12-7. At VMI, the swim teams are at the CCSA Championships all weekend in Athens, Georgia. The men's basketball team also has a game Saturday at Western Carolina at 4:30. Unfortunately, the rest of VMI's games this weekend have either been postponed or canceled due to the frigid weather. Both SVU basketball teams suffered losses colder than the weather this week at Mary Washington, with the men's team losing 71-59 and the women's team losing 97-59. Both teams are playing against visiting school St. Mary's, with the women's game at 1 p.m. and the men's at 3. In high school sports, the week's winter weather postponed the entire Conference 44 basketball tournament, which will now begin next Monday. The Perry McClure girls team has the #1 seed in the 6-team conference. The Fighting Blues have received a bye to the semifinals, where they will face either #4 Central or #5 William Campbell on Wednesday, February 25th at 6:30 p.m. in Buena Vista. The boys are 3rd seed, and they will host 6th seed Highland County in a quarterfinal contest at 6 p.m. Monday. With a win, the Blues would advance to the semifinals at #2 Cumberland next Wednesday. Not much is going on with the Rockbridge County Wildcats, except for the VHSL 3A West Region Indoor Track and Field Championship at Liberty University on Saturday. Students at Waddell Elementary are staying active too. For the 5th year in a row, Waddell has raised about $10,000 for Jump Rope for Heart. The fundraiser is sponsored by the American Heart Association and seeks to educate children and raise money for heart disease. Last year, Waddell ranked 9th in the state for most money raised out of nearly 800 schools statewide. The students received prizes, and the school receives PE equipment for the money they raise. This week, the kids at Waddell are having a school-wide party to celebrate how much they helped the cause.
Thanks for the update, Maggie.
Local college students serve meals to Rockbridge residents weekly, but sometimes it's still not enough. Leslie Yavak has the story.
The population that has intellectual disabilities is often overlooked by kind of society in general.
Jenny Davidson is the advisor for Washington and Lee's Campus Kitchen program, which cooks and delivers meals to a local adult daycare twice a week. The Magnolia Center offers social and theatrical activities for disabled adults to learn basic communication skills, but most locals don't even know it exists or that they can help.
I guess it's not really advertised because it's kind of like a touchy subject.
Volunteer Araba Wuba has become close friends with the clients she shares meals with every Friday. But Allison Smith said very few students know about where she volunteers each week.
When you say Magnolia Center, it doesn't ring any bells. People don't really know what it is.
Smith added that when Magnolia dialed 911 a few weeks ago, even the dispatch didn't know where to go. Volunteer Chase Wunderlich said despite the low volunteer numbers, he knows he is still making a difference.
It also makes me feel like I have a sense of efficacy, like I'm actually doing something, rather than just kind of treading water.
But Wunderlich said other students have trouble finding the time to volunteer.
It's a time commitment that people aren't always willing to make.
But part of Rockbridge County relies on these volunteers and is always calling for more students to get involved.
They should treat this community as home.
For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Leslie Yavak.
More W&L students are encouraged to get involved with the local Rockbridge community through Campus Kitchen and the Shepherd Poverty Program.
It was a close call this week for one pooch in North Carolina. The dog, named Brody, was out playing with his 12-year-old owner. When he suddenly fell through an icy pond, his owner quickly ran home to call for help. Crews from 2 fire departments came out to rescue Brody. They tied 2 ladders together in an attempt to reach the dog, but the weight of the ladder broke more of the ice. The firefighters then managed to get Brody to safety using a long hook. The pooch was met with warm blankets and hugs. That's all for this edition of the Rockbridge Report. For more information, check out rockbridgereport.washingtonandlee.net.
Thanks for tuning in and have a great evening.